Okay. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. We're going to talk about the Still River in a second show that we're going to do that we know pretty much how it turns out, but we're going to do it. We're looking into the future now. But for now, Dave Bonan, you are an avid cyclist for many years. You have a lot of history to talk about that. A lot of things you've done with your life so far at the young age of, we'll say, mid-30-ish. Mm-hmm. Tell me about yourself. Who are you? Where did you come from? Who are you? What brought you to where you are now? How did you evolve?
Anti-Semitism, really, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I'm being dead serious.
Okay, go ahead.
My parents were both Jewish. My mom is from Hungary, from Budapest. My dad's from Cairo, Egypt.
Yeah.
Both escaped religious persecution, both being Jewish. Mm-hmm. And they both went to neutral countries, France and Italy. And then eventually they met through the same rabbi on a blind date in Brooklyn. So thank you to all the anti-Semites out there for making me sit right here talking to David today. Tongue-in-cheek.
Excellent, excellent.
But, yeah, I grew up in Northwest Jersey. Mm-hmm. Appalachian foothills, nothing but beautiful nature everywhere.
Appalachian foothills all the way up into New Jersey. Well, I guess the Appalachians kind of almost, they do come up into Connecticut a little bit too, don't they? But it becomes not the Appalachians at that
Appalachian
point.
Trail, the Berkshires.
The Berkshires, yeah.
Appalachian Trail, the Appalachian Mountain goes through Northwest Jersey, the foothills anyway.
And up along the Hudson River on the Jersey side?
Palisades.
Palisades?
Yeah.
That's part of the Appalachians, huh?
I believe it is. I know it kind of curves this way a little bit and goes down, but like top house of a mountain and nothing but farmland and lakes, rivers, and streams where I grew up. Further city is 100, maybe an hour away.
So worldwide anti-Semitism occurred, and out of that worldwide anti-Semitism came Dave Bonan.
Yeah.
And Dave Bonan
has a sister who's older.
Okay.
And her name's Michelle.
Uh-huh. And
that's it.
So mom and dad. How did they meet again?
Blind date through a rabbi at a temple.
That's pretty cool. Because you don't see, well, I guess with old world cultures, and the second gal I was married to was Slovak, and so I know a little bit about old world, and so let's go from there to the bicycle. When did the bicycle come into your life?
Probably when I was like 10 years old, right? The freedom of being on a bike. Flash forward to, I attended WestCon. I came to Danbury in 95 to attend WestCon. Initially for meteorology, but my mom was right, too much calculus and chemistry, I can't do that. So I went with my heart, which was history. She was a history major, I was a history major.
Yeah.
I'm a research geek, I love history and origins of things. I'm a journalist as well, so I like to put a historical slant on any boring subject I can find, as long as I can go back to the beginning and trace its history all the way back to today.
So you look for the roots of whatever subject you happen to be thinking about.
Right, no matter what subject matter it is.
Any subject matter.
If it's a restaurant review, I will interview the person about where they came from and how they got to where they are today. And they'll say, hey, no one's ever done a piece like that before. How come? I'm like,
isn't that something?
I don't know.
So the bicycle. Orville and Wilbur Wright.
I'm glad you mentioned that. No one knows that. The Wright brothers' father owned a bike shop in Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And the modern-day airplane is inspired by the bicycle drivetrain mechanics.
And that's why the Wright brothers segued from bicycles to Kitty Hawk and the planes.
Right. There might have actually been someone who flew right before them, too, but I forgot their names.
Oh, I'm sure. There are always, things never happen at one place at one time. There's always parallel courses being traveled. Marconi with a telegraph.
Right.
A lot of things happen like that. So, the bicycle.
Right.
You became involved with the bicycle. You became enamored of it like we all did at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. We all loved our bicycles. You still love your bicycle.
I say it out loud all the time. Proud of it. My car's transmission died in 2000.
Uh-huh.
I got a bike from a friend at Bianchi. I biked everywhere for 2 months while saving up to fix a transmission. Loved the freedom of going everywhere and how I felt. I vowed to keep staying on the bike, and then the car got fixed, and the bike got dusty, and I got more depressed, and
You missed the bike.
Missed the bike. And I kind of ruined the car a bit, and there was problems with it, and I just got kind of sick of car culture in general.
Yep.
I said, all right, I'm going to give my car up. Actually, Kitty Foster from XCI was my witness when I said I'm giving it up for a bike.
You know how many people say to themselves, I'm so sick of my car, I'm going to start riding a bicycle? You know how many people say, a lot of people say that.
I know a few.
A lot of people say that. And they stick with it for a day, a week, a month, a couple of months, and somehow they get sucked back in to the car routine. What kept you away from getting sucked back into that?
The it factor. But the it can mean anything to anyone, really. I guess it's the aha moment, really. So
you realized that was really, I guess, what Dave Bonan was made of.
I'm an explorer adventurer, so I guess it just made sense to, explore by bike. It didn't really hit me until 2 years later why I was doing it, kind of thing.
How far do you actually travel away from the Danbury area on your bike?
I've just, actually, as of 2 weeks ago, I hit my 169th town in Connecticut, so I've actually seen every single town in Connecticut.
On bicycle?
On bicycle.
Leaving Danbury and going to that spot on bicycle?
Yes. Sometimes, if I've seen that place 100 times, sometimes I'll take mass transit. I support mass transit 100%.
Yeah.
Bike and train and bus and all that. So I will do the connections and be multimodal. Mm-hmm. The goal was 5 years into it. I've been car free now 10 years and a couple months. And one day I'm like, how many towns have I done? And I looked at a map and it was about 75. And I'm like, okay, bike tours and events and stuff and getting around. And I'm like, let me do 169. How could I do that? And I planned 2, 3, 4 day trips overnight. Did zigzags across the state. The goal was to hit every main street or geographic center, but some towns you don't know if you're in either one of them. South of Woodstock is a little strip mall of 3 stores across from the Woodstock Fair.
Yep.
But you wouldn't know that's really an industrial center.
And that's Woodstock, Connecticut, rather than Woodstock, New York.
But West Woodstock is a geographic center. You go to northeast corner, and that's Thompson, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. But the main town center is 5 miles away, and that's North Grove Interdale, and that's the mill center. So there's a lot of towns that don't have an even keel of how it works, so you have to go to all of them. It's crazy.
If you lived somewhere else, let's say you lived in a state about the size of Connecticut, Massachusetts, let's say, or a state that's kind of smaller, Delaware.
Right.
Would you be doing the same thing, or is there something special about Connecticut which has made it more pleasurable for you?
Connecticut's my second home, so I guess it's more pleasurable.
New Jersey, of course, is like maybe 2 times the size of Connecticut.
Right. I've biked all over Mass and Rhode Island. I've done 95% of Rhode Island at this point. I've done a lot of Massachusetts. Connecticut's just so amazing. You've got, River Valley, Route 154 from Higganum all the way down to Old Saybrook is amazing, and 49 through Voluntown is amazing, and I've ridden every secondary and tertiary road I can think of, but you've got mountains and you've got marine ports, and Stonington Borough is an amazing shock back in time, and there's just so much to see in the state. I mean, I could promote it myself as a tourism guide.
You could. So what about, we're going to talk about the Still River in another show, but the environment of Connecticut, are there cultural things that attract you more, or do you find environmental places of interest more interesting, or is it both?
It's a big soup. I mean, it really is.
Big soup.
We call mountain. I grew up on a mountain in Jersey that was 1,300 feet tall. That's not a mountain, really.
1,300 feet is,
it's 1,000 is a mountain, but I've biked Mount Greylock, and that's 3,800 feet. And every other hill.
Connecticut?
No, that was in Mass.
Oh, Massachusetts. Okay.
So I compare every hill I ever go up in Connecticut. No matter how much I'm suffering, I compare it to Mount Greylock. Well, it's not Greylock, so I can't really hate it that much.
3,800 feet it's a fair distance above. At least for the East Coast, it's a fair distance. I mean, you haven't got much more than that. Mount Washington is probably a lot taller than that. But
I don't know. Connecticut's just got so much to see: ridge lines and beautiful mountains and lakes and rivers and streams and ocean views, and I just love the topography. Reading, of all the news articles that have been written about me in my 169 towns, I have to say Reading is my favorite town to bike in.
So it's mostly the environmental side of Connecticut rather than the cultural side, which piques your interest.
Yeah, I think it's all of it too. I mean, all the different people living together, but it's when you're in a car, you're disconnected from your community. When you're on a bike, you're connected to your community a little bit more. You can stop and see things and explore on your own time and talk to people. If you're in a car going from point A to point B, that's all there is. If you're on a bicycle, going to point A to point B is the same thing, but there's 100 points in between. And there's a lot of emotional things that go on, and there's a lot of sights and sounds that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So it's a more euphoric experience.
Let's bring it back a little closer to the Danbury area and talk a little bit about the Still River.
Okay.
Because you've been interested and you've been involved in creating a documentary about the Still River.
Right.
Has anything surprised you along the making of that documentary, or did you know everything about the Still River in advance?
I'm kind of an amateur historian in Danbury, and I've learned this from Bill Devlin and Herb Janik, who was my history teacher and taught me historical research. So, thanks, Dr. Janik.
One of those few. Because I'll tell you what, we all have a couple, 3 teachers along the way that kind of stuck with us individually.
I thought about that on the way here. I was thinking about 5 teachers, but 3 is probably more right on.
For me, it would probably be Herb Rosenberg, who was a math teacher at WestConn, who taught me more about the English language than any language or language teacher that I ever came across in my entire life, because he thought about language in a mathematical sense and taught me a lot that way. But, okay, so the Still River.
So I'm like almost an amateur historian in Danbury, and in Connecticut it feels like, because my friends have lived here all their life and they don't know much as I do about it. But I don't like to brag about it. I like to really promote things that I love about it so other people can learn about it. I'm just so excited about the information. I want to share it with everyone.
Okay, the Still River.
Yes.
Somebody's coming from New Jersey to visit Connecticut. Tell them why they should get to know the Still River a little bit better.
I really don't know. I don't know why, because it's not really something that caught me off guard or made me want to learn more about until I saw it one day going under the channel in the city of Danbury, going downtown, and kind of wondered what was that all about. But I question things and I want to know more about them.
Yeah.
And I was working for the Connecticut Film Festival doing interactive programming and doing film programming, and I'd worked on some films and had multiple positions, and I wanted to mix them all together. So one day I thought, after the film fest ended about 1.5 years ago, maybe my friend could film me, maybe Aurelia could film me doing a 2-minute trailer, is me biking in the Still River in the channel, follow me along the right of way, and that would be the 2-minute short. And then I got to thinking, there hasn't been a movie about the Still River. There have been movies shot in Danbury, Strangers on a Train and the Wes Craven films, and a whole bunch of other comedies. And Arthur was filmed the Danbury Race Arena, and Strangers on a Train was filmed downtown at many places, and Leahy's and Danbury Rail Yard.
Original Hitchcock film?
Correct. Huh. Yeah, it was a different town, but the Danbury Train Museum and Green Chimneys on Main Street across from the Soldiers and Sailors Monument.
Yeah.
And I thought, Danbury's always a background character, but they're not a main character. And I figured, well, why not do both? Why not promote Danbury? Why not do a film that hasn't been done about the river? And why not have Danbury be the main feature? As opposed to, and Brookfield and New Milford, of course, is in the movie too.
So you're ready to get started doing a film. You've got an idea about doing a film about the Still River. How does it evolve? How do you make it happen?
Pen to paper.
You just sit down and you start jotting down notes about it?
I do. I bring my friends on board, and I got my friend to be the director of photography. We've all kind of been friends and known each other for a while, and we now all believe in the same mission. And he said, I'm jumping on it, and don't worry about it. This is all of our first films together. Aurelia's done other short films before and feature films, but we figured, why don't we all do one together and promote it as a trifecta of people living in the area promoting it. Went to the Danbury Cultural Commission and filled out the form and spoke about why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and they liked me and they liked what I had to say, and they gave me a chance.
And there was a little seed money involved, obviously.
Yeah.
And you promoted it well enough to them, apparently, to get a little seed money out of them to get it going.
Social media doesn't help, and I surrounded myself with people that I know who know a lot more than I do about the Still River, but I know enough. And Herb Janik and Bill Devlin and the Danbury Museum and the Senior Center and Mayor Bowden and Mike McLaughlin were interviewed already. And just surround yourself with all the key stakeholders in the community. Yeah. And then you have a movie.
That's how it happens. So if you're bright enough and energetic enough, you can have an idea and turn it into a movie.
We're going to go further by doing a kayak tour, environmental tour with Tom Stauffer, who's the Still River steward for the last 30-some years, and he'll have a wireless mic.
One person is actually the steward.
There's tons of them, and it's not an official title, but he knows more about it than anyone else in this area.
Tom Stauffer.
Stauffer, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll also be doing a helicopter tour in the fall from Danbury Airport, Centennial Helicopters, and we're going to be doing an aerial view of the entire river corridor. And then, so when we put it in the movie, we can speed it up a bit.
So you change pace in the movie by adding these other effects in.
Right.
Take us down the Still River, because we're going to talk a little bit more about it later. But take us down the Still River. Or are you going to be taking us up the Still River? Where does the Still River begin?
Sanford's Pond on the west side of Danbury, on the border of New York State, Farrington Tract, Farrington property.
Okay, yep.
And that's now public land thanks to the city of Danbury acquiring, with open space money, 193 acres, passive recreation, and trails have been blazed by Jack Kazahowski, and it's a beautiful aquifer.
Now, passive recreation, maybe some people that watch the show don't know what passive recreation is. What's involved?
Hiking, biking, no ATVs, no motors, non-motorized boats, kayaking, rowboats, bird watching.
So you just kind of park your car off in the distance, you get out and you just go in, and wherever your sense and your sensibilities take you, you go.
Right, non-intrusive, just, leave footprints, take photographs. Kind of moniker.
Would it be sort of like what's done on a lot of Tarrywild?
Yes.
Or is Tarrywild more active recreation?
I'd say it's more active recreation, but there's no ATVs. They really police that. The only motorized people there are the maintenance crew on their golf carts. So it's pretty much in the meaty area there. People will fish there or swim in there.
There's a lot of horseback riding along the New York, Connecticut border down into Ridgefield. A lot of horse properties. Do people ride horses up into the Farrington property?
I know they can. It's been talked about, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of hilly terrain and a lot of steep hillsides and ridges, so I know they're talking about that.
Huh. So, okay, we leave the Farrington Pond. We're at the Still River. We're traveling along the Still River. We leave the Farrington Pond.
Sanford's Pond.
Sanford Pond. Where do we go from there?
Well, it becomes a marsh, and then the river forms out of there. And I have pictures of every square inch of the river from beginning to end. And I've been to it by bike and by foot. It's beautiful. And then the river snakes behind Rosie Tomorrow's Old Mill Plain Road.
What kind of bike do you take with you when you go over terrain like that?
I don't ride in the woods on there because I don't want to really destroy the land. There's not trails really over there. I take every road that's ever crossed the river, or I'll parallel it, but also get out and walk and lock my bike up.
Oh, okay. So you travel from the genesis of the Still River, and you come down. And where are you headed?
We're going southeast. We're going southeast below Rosie Tomorrow's and down under 84.
Mill Plain Road, yeah.
It goes behind Jensen's Trailer Park and along the swampland, but it is a river there. And then it goes and becomes Lake Kenosia.
Jensen's is by Lake Kenosia,
correct.
Sure.
And Kenosia is a Still River. Shares the same underground aquifer as Sanford's Pond.
So, would you actually consider it to be part of the Still River?
It is.
The wider portion of it?
It is. Yeah.
So it is. So I always think of a lake as being a lake, kind of a still body of water that's not actually flowing in one direction or the other. But you're saying that Lake Kenosia is a Still River flowing from
west to east at that
west
point.
to east. Okay.
And then it goes underneath Kenosia Avenue. And then a good vantage point for the public is to go to the top of the Danbury Mall parking garage, the top deck, and look in the very, very back. Not the river along the road, the service road, but in the very, very back, you'll see it snaking in the back. That's the Still River. It's very low floodplain there. And then it goes under Seeger Street by the Chuck's Steakhouse area.
By Chuck's, yep.
And then it goes behind Park Avenue area, and it goes near Danbury Open Space Tract by the Land Trust of Danbury along Belmont Circle.
Yep.
That's really like a ravine, like a little valley down there.
Then that's just south of Lake Avenue, where you have all the streets that come off of Lake Avenue in that area. Lake Avenue.
Right.
Is it Lake Avenue or Lake Avenue Extension at that point?
Lake Avenue.
Okay. All those little streets that travel down there, none of them go anywhere. They all circle back around and come back up. And there's this big ravine, and it seems very large.
It is. Not to people who live in Colorado, perhaps, but for us it is. It's glacial.
On a Connecticut scale, it's a pretty big ravine.
Right.
What's the benefit of walking down into there? Is that interesting down there?
It's not very easy to walk down there, but it's very quiet. It's untouched.
So it's kind of between Lake Avenue and Park Avenue.
Right.
Because there are some condos along Park Avenue, the brick ones. I forget the name of them.
Yeah.
But
you can see it from there.
Back behind there, the land suddenly drops off.
It's not very easy to walk. You definitely have to work at it.
So you would maybe wear some waders or something?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean,
just some really, really good hiking shoes?
Yeah.
And plan on traveling fairly slow?
Yeah, you know.
Which I guess what you would want to do if you want to really enjoy everything. The solitude.
I mean, you're close to a lot of things, but you're really still kind of separated a bit. Goes behind Oil Mill Pond there, by the old factory there, the old furring factory.
Which is a condominium now. Yeah.
Right. And then it goes under the West Street Bridge there.
West Street Bridge.
By the Salome Plaza.
The overpass that always floods.
And trucks always run into them because they forget how tall they are.
Yeah. And that floods, I'm presuming, because it's part of the Still River?
Oh, yes.
That's why it floods.
It's a low floodplain.
And there's nothing you can do about that,
Nope.
Huh? When you have a lot of rain, you just know it's going to flood and you put up with it.
When it flooded in March for the floods, I got pictures by biking up and over the railroad bridge and getting to the other side. And, cars couldn't do that. So
now we're almost into the center of Danbury.
Right.
Where's the Still River travel from there?
It goes behind Rose Hill Avenue. It goes right where Fairfield Processing is.
The old factory.
And the old Mallard Hat factory. Mm-hmm. The river actually goes underneath and around, like a complete circle around. And you can get there through a little service gate that's not open to the public, but there are people who hang out there and, unemployed vagrants who know me and I know them, but we agreed to say, hello, we're making a movie and we're not going to bother you. And the water goes underneath there and it rushes behind the Elks Lodge behind Main Street there, behind the old common ground and the bank. And then it turns where the Hart the Hart Pulse Point is.
Okay.
And you can see where it turns and there's a parking lot over it and it goes diagonal like this and then that's where it hits Main Street.
So we're right into the center of Danbury with the Still River.
Right.
Now we've all seen, as we'll talk about later, these big concrete drainage ditches that are Main Street, Crosby Street, all that area.
Right.
Is that where the Still River goes next?
Yes, this is where the Still River goes. The river coming from the left by the old Iovina brothers is the Paden Brook.
Iovina, yep. Mm-hmm.
So they join the confluence there, and then that's the concrete channel that takes it through the railroad, and then it jumps out at Casper Street. That's just before Casper Street is where the channelization ends.
So the Paden Brook you mentioned, which I guess probably travels southbound down Paden Road?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the two brooks converge.
Right.
And where do they go from there? Is it all Still River at that point?
Now it's Still River at this point.
All Still River, okay.
And then at Casper Street it goes, let's see, it goes behind Shelter Rock Road. The next best spot to catch it is at Cross Street. And Cross Street, it goes downhill under Newtown Road.
Yep.
That little ravine there. And then it goes behind those two Still River condos or whatever. They're two condos.
There's a condo on Beaverbrook Road and there's a condo on Newtown Road. And I've seen that behind there's a precipitous drop down.
There's a stairwell from the condo complex so you can walk right down to the water. That's a great vantage point. I've done that.
And
then it goes all the way down. It curves around. Then it goes down where Beaverbrook Road is and Broad Street where the Danbury Box Company is now. Square Box Company.
Yep.
It goes underneath Old Newtown Road.
Yep.
Where the old Risden is. And
Risden, yep.
And then it goes
all of us that have been around a while know where Risden is.
Okay. And then it goes and becomes the Still River Greenway right around there, where the Sinorama is.
Okay.
And the Still River Greenway boat launch at the Holiday Inn. And that's where the Limekiln Brook meets it from the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, and that's probably, I think, the part of Still River that most people recognize as being the Still River, because there's a lot of marsh area there. It's right by shopping centers. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and yet there are big tracts of marsh.
Right, and a big floodplain there. It floods heavily during floods there. It's horrible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The gazebo was actually buried all up to its roof. That's how low it is over there. So 3 feet of water will make it, impossible to traverse.
Wow.
And it'll take days to drain.
And where does it go from there?
Then it goes north about 11 miles. to Lover's Leap and New Milford just before Lover's Leap. So it'll go behind Stu Leonard's and along Route 7. And right where it gets to Candlewood Valley Golf Course is probably the most exciting because we'll be canoeing that very shortly, where it does this.
Yep.
About 100 S's through the Candlewood Valley Golf Course, a big piece of property. And you can get lost in it. It's very snaky.
How did nature make it like that? Is there any way to determine how nature actually, why would nature make a river go in a zigzag pattern?
I don't know, but that's the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's probably sort of unusual for a river to travel like that.
Welcome back.
Thank you. How many minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay. So.
And the river goes through Harry Brook Park in New Milford.
Yep, right along, fairly close to Route 7.
And there are Class 3 rapids there, which is a really beautiful place to go in the winter or the summer.
You see that going up Grove Street in New Milford, you see all that. And Harry Brook Park right there, yep.
Right, Harry Brook Park, and then the river goes to the west a little bit, and then back north, and it goes up to the Housatonic Railroad Bridge. And it meets the...
That's the bridge at Lover's Leap that we were talking about.
Right before it, yeah. It's right there, spitting distance. It goes right to the train abutment, and the Housatonic meets the Still River right east of the railroad bridge by about 20 feet.
And that's a great bridge, that Lover's Leap bridge. It's I don't know structurally what it is, but it's a metal bridge that's just a pretty interesting.
Right.
Do you have any idea what kind of bridge that is? It's
some sort of truss beam?
A truss or cantilever or something? To get somebody on the show to talk about how to cover up bridges.
I'm not an engineer, but I know it's a prime fishing spot at the confluence. It's very still over there. And so basically from a small little Sanford's Pond on the west side of Danbury, the river becomes part of the Housatonic River, which then flows to Long Island Sound, which becomes the Atlantic Ocean.
Now, where the Pednaran Brook and the Still River come together, do you get a great increase in the amount of water at that point? Because, you know, when you have two highways, Route 7 and with Super 7 and 7, when they come together, cars and cars, all of a sudden you've got more cars than it can handle, so it sort of, all of a sudden you've got a lot of cars. Do you get a lot of water where the two rivers, come together?
It's pretty quiet over there.
So somehow the way it's made, it's able to handle this confluence.
Right. It was built for 100 years.
Yeah.
It was built to withstand any flood from here on in.
Wow. And then it ends up in New Milford, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a little lesson about... And what are some of those sports that I know I've seen people doing the canoeing and the rafting and whatnot?
Housatonic Valley Paddle Club, they sponsor kayaking tours, and you've got swimming and fishing and hiking. And
we're going to come back and do a second show, and it might even seem like it was the first show. We're going to come back and do another show and talk a little bit more about the Still River and the environment. This has been Progressive Soup, David Stevenson, Dave Bonan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the show. And we will have you back yesterday.
Okay, good. I'll be looking forward to it tomorrow.
Good night. Pinter, that's it. Yep. Sue Ellen,
Michigan.
Yeah. Is that the one that had to wear the bra on the outside?
Yeah.
That's that one. Okay.
The heir to the O. Henry Candy Bar fortune.
The candy bar fortune. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Rick. We're going to be with you again next week, and with that, I thank you very much for being here on the program, Joy and Rick. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm, of course, Kevin Gallagher. Please tune in again next week to see what it is we'll be talking about.
It was the first thing that came to my head, and it was pretty right on.
Now we're thinking about this. Now we're thinking we got a guest on the Olympics. Finally, yeah. My face dropped like, oh Jesus.
It did.
We're gonna talk about this.
have a photo album specifically called Subterranean Hometown Views. Little Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan, yeah. Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Exactly, and in that folder we'll have it all, and you'll be like, wow. And the trash there is horrible. The trash there, right before Casper Street, there's a homeless encampment there, under the bridge. That's where actually I put out, and I was seeing all the garbage, and it was garbage from before them. It was
I learned that
garbage.
when I was doing the census. I learned about all the places that all the homeless
Makes
areas
sense.
in Danbury.
They got a great location there. Man, they're really set up there too. Really? The guy had fruit on the table and fresh flowers in a vase on their table, and him and his girlfriend were there. But they had a nice little. It was a little dirty, and they didn't care about their pizza boxes being thrown in the river. I wasn't going to correct the guy, but he asked me to not. Yeah.
Communication? Do you think any kind of common culture between these camps along the tracks? Because one thing we didn't get into, and there's also the strong relation between the railroad district and the river.
Right.
I know there's some camps up on. I do one job at DCF. There's a camp up there. I see guys getting dropped off and walking. It's the one you mentioned, I think.
The one off Rose Hill there?
Yeah.
There's an overturned car inside that area that's on the other end of the railroad that the guy uses as a house. But the vagrants hang out there. The one at Casper Street, he asked me to stop filming, and I said, of course, I'm not going to put you on film. I'm not going to tell people that you live here. I'm not going to ruin your chances of being found. The place that I talked about where a guy was living, the vagrants hang out, the city knows about it, and it's not a place where there's shelter, really. It's just kind of like a place where people go to drink. But I was there when the floods were so bad on the old truss bridge from the old factory, and I'm standing on it, and the water's lapping me like an inch below, and it's angry, and it's like if I fall in, I die. Like it was rushing like 50 miles an hour below me, and I'm shooting the river, and I'm like, holy shit. Because the original one is all wooden next to it, and the one next to it is all metal truss, like eye bars, and it was like, holy shit. Wow. But yeah, I don't want to like give anyone up.
Right.
But the garbage that I found wasn't them. It was like 10 shopping carts, rusted and disgusted, into like
the trash. I live on Lake Kenosia. All the trash you find is always McDonald's. It's never. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's like they know somehow it's worthless and they're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I had on camera when I got mad and I started picking up the trash and I became part of the movie again. I came to that realization as I was talking to myself out loud, saying, "Isn't it odd? You only would just see crap everywhere, but it's never like good food that you find trashed." And so we use that.
Associated with organic food, but you don't
yeah.
Put it out there.
You find apple cores, but you don't find organic cereal everywhere. But you don't want to make the distinction that only poor people litter, because I see rich people litter.
Yeah, because they go to McDonald's too.
Right, and they go to Starbucks, and you see the cups there too. Well, you can pigeonhole them.
Wow. You got to get Dave back. 3 more shows here.
Oh no.
That was good. I know it's different subject matter, but the second show, not that the first show was bad, that had a much better rhythm. And you found following the river. It was your idea.
How often do we do 2 shows with the same person, and the second show is always better than the first because you get that rhythm going?
Right.
Yeah, it's the second show is always better than the first.
But you've done this one guest 2 shows at the same time, right?
A lot of times.
Okay.
We almost, if we have a reasonably good first show and we don't have a second guest, we always do a second show because you always get a better flow of activity in the second show. Even if you're talking about the same thing, it goes differently and it's just a lot more fun. I've had people on the show that talk like this, and I've got to go to keep up with them. And I've got people that come to the show and
If you get the chance, you got to come out to the.
And I got to slow down.
Political meetings, ACT meeting, this organization. Have you told Dave about that?
Oh, Friday evenings, yeah. No, I haven't.
Justin is.
Yeah, I've been friends with Justin since college.
Yeah, I know. He talks about you. And I know you deal out of the same sort of thing in years past in Danbury, so we're trying to get it restarted, And,
what's your name again?
I'm James Root.
Oh, I know the last name. Okay.
Anyway, I've been staying at the Memorial with Mike Toto's group.
Right.
Like 3 years, right? Pretty much?
No, close to 5.
5.
Wow, has it been that long? We used to do that back in the day, too. Yeah. We had a funeral that we brought coffins down after.
This is what we need.
Yeah, that was fun.
Theater.
Yeah, we're
anyway, if you get a chance, we do every other Friday.
And John Zenzel. Who came on the show about a month ago. He likes street theater.
We can talk about that. We had a couple big demonstrations. Not that you would be, compelled to do that, but we had one good one. Justin set up one of Bank of America.
Yeah, I was watching the video of that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
That was really well done, well executed.
Justin does what we used to do, or he does what Tom Green, how he used to be annoying on MTV, is you're wrong, you keep doing what you're doing, and you play stupid. And the cops come and move you away, and you're like, oh, I thought I could do this, and no, and then you keep doing it. Even if they tell you to say no, you just keep doing it until they push you away.
It took the cops a while to catch on to what he was doing to him.
Yeah, because you make him look dumb, but you just don't give a shit.
Fair enough.
You know, but you're not like disrespectful. You're just
Because they're doing their job, but you don't want the fact that they're doing their job to get in the way of you doing your job,
right,
of educating people.
And they don't really want to do anything bad.
No,
but they just want you out there.
Right. They're just worried about who's gonna hassle them if they don't get you out of there.
We handled, Justin did really well.
Yeah, he handled it well. The cops were reasonable, and that's the way a learning experience should be.
Well, we've been in so much shit before. We've been beaten by cops, so I figured why don't we start being nice to cops once in a while?
In recent years, because in the '60s when I grew up, there was a lot of that going on.
Where's that scar? There, that scar? That's a rubber bullet. Yeah, I still have it at home. Quebec City, 2001.